Why does the international community call for a ceasefire in Israel, even when Hamas refuses to cease its rocket attacks and fighting in Gaza? Is urging a ceasefire essentially just asking Israel to refrain from defending itself and allowing Hamas to continue its actions unchecked?
Yeah, I mean, there's a very easy way for a ceasefire. There's a very easy way to cease hostilities, which is hand back the hostages. You know, and I mean, the sickness of Sinwar and others, you know, the sickness of Sinwar, among other things, he doesn't need any more to be said about him, but, you know, to surround yourself with prize hostages, you know. Again, I'd urge people to wonder whether they're on the right side if they're supporting a man who's so corrupt and so evil that he's stolen billions of dollars from his people and is holding Jewish children around him as a shield. But yes, the war could end very swiftly if they handed back the hostages. The latest, again, it comes back to what I said earlier about the ceasefire. It's always with Israel, always a ceasefire. And that's because of this weird media obsession and the governmental obsession that follows it. They say, I knew this would happen. I knew it would happen. I said to a friend on the 7th, they'll probably give us about 24 hours before the story is Israeli response to blah, 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 blah. I mean, usually when a war involving Gaza and Israel comes up, you know, you hear about the war only because of the Israeli retaliation. The media doesn't tell you what happened that Israel is retaliating to. And that's perfectly normal. And in this conflict, it's been on amphetamines. I mean, they were talking about Israeli retaliation before the IDF had done anything. They were claiming there was a genocide in Gaza before the IDF were even in Gaza. They always do it, and the result of this is the appalling situation which Israel alone among the world's democracies finds itself in, which, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, it's the only country in the world that's never allowed to win a war. I personally think it is intolerable to be in a situation where every couple of years Israel is forced into another Gaza war, and every 15 to 20 years it's forced into another Lebanon war. No country should expect that or have to put up with it. That's why I say that the question with this is this the umpteenth Gaza war, or is it the last? Will the war that I think is coming in the north be the third Lebanon war or the last? And again, sorry, just quickly, because we mentioned the international community. It seems, since the international community pretends that Israel has to abide by everything the international community says, very interesting what they choose not to abide by. Resolution 1701, that was meant to stop the amassing of Hezbollah munitions in the southern part of Lebanon, has been completely disobeyed by Hezbollah since 2006. Well, where is the international community on this? Are international resolutions binding or not? Are they in the case of this one or not? And I would say clearly not. The international community did not stop Hezbollah amassing something like 160,000 very high-level rockets in southern Lebanon. And so again, but it's always the asymmetry of Israel, the obsession with Israel fighting back. And I think that goes, by the way, very deep. There is a shallow version of it, which is just, politically active nincompoops. But there's a deep one as well, which is a very deep level of people who, I'll do it this way. Why do they say genocide? Why do they say genocide? Why do they say that Gaza is a concentration camp? Why do they say Gaza is the Warsaw Ghetto? Why do they say that Israel behaves like Hitler? Because either they want to wound and hurt Jews as deeply as possible and know what they're doing. Or, and this is more of a psychological explanation, and again this exists particularly in Europe, they want at some point to expiate their own guilt by saying that the Israelis behaved as badly. You see, if Israel behaves in a Nazi-like fashion, then everyone else can move on. And I think that one goes very deep. You know, there's a great passage in a favorite novel of mine by Vasily Grossman, the great Russian journalist and author, who, in his magnificent Life and Fate, where Grossman describes his own eyewitness accounts of Stalingrad, everything from Stalingrad to Treblinka. He traversed the midnight of the 20th century. But slap bang in the middle of Life and Fate are 3 pages about the nature of anti-Semitism. And in my view, these pages should be much better known than they are. He says almost everything you need to say. He says anti-Semitism is something that you can find in the Academy of Sciences and in the games that children play in the schoolyard. But he says everywhere it tells you not about the Jews, but about the person making the accusation. He says, tell me what you accuse the Jews of, I'll tell you what you're guilty of.